well, after far too long and endless debates and late night Facebook Marketplace searches for roll bars, I finally decided to order my own. Let's open it up and see what's inside. As you can see, no sharp objects. Human box cutter, baby, let's go. Oh, nice little leather wrap. All right, here we go. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Look at that. Look at that. Woo. Well, finally got the garage cleaned out, so I think pretty much about ready to get started working on this. I'm gonna go grab some coffee really quick and then get this thing up on some jack stands and start digging in. Alright, so one of the perks of having a Miata is they are small. A lot of people will give you shit about having a Miata, but at least you can park it in your garage sideways. As you can see, got a 2-car garage here. I'm gonna try to kind of go this way, give myself full 360 access around the whole thing. Don't mind some of the mess. Just gotta pull this guy out of here and then get the car in. So I guess watch me struggle through getting the car in here. Well, the car is in the garage. It's a little bit off center, but I think it'll work. Leaves a lot of room to set stuff down here for the install, you know, put the hardtop on the ground, etc., etc. So, gotta get this thing up on some jack stands, and gotta get the seat out of here, and then after I get the seat out, then I can get the hardtop off, and then after I get the hardtop off, then I can start dealing with the rest of the interior. Alright, let's have some fun. Kind of liking this dramatic lighting here, but as you can see, I am very sweaty. But as you can also see, we are up on jack stands. I think I might need to go a little bit higher a little bit later on. Once we get into some other stuff, I got some frame rail supports that I want to put on, but I think for now, back to the dramatic lighting. I think it's time to start taking this seat out. Let's get it. As I mentioned, I need to get this seat out of here. A, to make things easier, I'm gonna have to take the carpet out for those frame rail supports. But B, I cannot access the hardtop support right there. Can't see, it's a little bit dark, but I can't access that little clip that's over there behind that seat. So I need to slide this forward, get the seats out, whatever. But the easiest way to do that, gotta take these little bolts here, loosen them up a little bit so that I can access the seat mount bolts from the front, slide it forward, and access the ones from the back. To get this seat in here, I had to remove the factory rear mounts to get it to sit as low as I wanted, so you'll kind of see that when I get it out. So let's do it. Alright, before we get too far into this, I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of backstory about this car. So it starts way back in 1989, I believe. My grandma and grandpa went to the Chicago Auto Show. They were just looking around for fun, and something about the Miata, I think it was one of the debut shows for the Miata, caught my grandpa's eye, and he just fell in love with it, decided to buy one for my grandma in late 90s, so it's a 91 car, so it doesn't have the short nose crank issues, etc., etc. Spent a long time in New Mexico with them. My dad drove it for a while, and now I have it. And it very well could be the thing that got me interested in cars way back when. So, special car to me. You know, I am going to drift a little bit. Probably not going to go crazy and be doing gnarly tandems with people or whatever. Probably go down the road of a different chassis at that point in time. But, you know, for now, I just want to make this car as good as I can, as cool as I can, and just really enjoy it how it's meant to be enjoyed. So let's go on this journey, and you know, figured I'd walk you through the mods list of what I've got so far. It's nothing crazy, but worth taking a look at, I think. So let's do it. I figure we could start up front with the wheels. Got the classic Advanti Storm S1s on here, 15x8s, super lightweight wheels. Something else you'll notice right behind there is the Willwood big brake kit up front, and a lot of you may be thinking to yourself, big brake kit, it's a Miata. Why would you possibly want a big brake kit? But I'll tell you why. Because I lived in California. Where I lived up in the hills of California, I would do a lot of mountain driving, and I'll tell you what, brakes get hot going downhill. So this car for a long time, when I lived in Santa Barbara, was just a sort of weekend canyon cruiser, you know, just rip down the back hills, tight hairpin turns everywhere, and you got to be able to stop for that. I've definitely almost sent it off of the side of a cliff a couple of times as a result, so big brakes made sense, you know. Bigger brakes don't get as hot. You get the picture. Back to it. Beyond the big brake kit, we do have some Feel 441 monotube coilovers. I believe they are 12K in the front, 8K in the back. I could be wrong. Who knows? Whatever. Up in the power department, we have basically nothing. We've got a Jackson Racing cold air intake, which is kind of cool. You don't see these being run very often. It's kind of almost like a Ram Air style intake, but going through there, we've got another set of Jackson Racing ceramic coated 4-to-1 headers, actually 4-to-2-to-1 headers with a full Yonaka exhaust. You know, only the best in here. Actually not. I don't know much of anything about that. You know, I've got some Racing Beat sway bars front and back. Nothing else really too crazy. We've got a Sparco steering wheel. We've got our Garage Moon power floor mats. We've got the Sparco QRTR premium seat here, mainly because it's one of the bigger seats that you can get for a Miata, and I am not a small guy. Other little bits, we've got a pretty cool little shift knob and emergency brake handle that I found at an old job, and who knows, they may be one of one. If you have one, let me know, but I've never seen another one before. Outside of that, got a hard top that I got for like $300 back when I lived in California, so yeah, I know everybody's pretty jealous of that, but for now, you know, that's basically it. Got some drilled rotors in the back for whatever, but yeah, that's about it. Going to be putting on these frame rail sports that are hiding in the woods right now. Probably going to put that hardtop spoiler on. I'm not too sure about that strut tower brace, but we'll see. And then, of course, that sucker's going in here today. Let's do it. Alright, so something you're going to have to do regardless of if you have an aftermarket seat or a stock seat is you're going to have to remove them for this process as best as I understand. There are bolts at the front and the back, and unfortunately since this is a fixed back seat, I'm going to have to remove the front bolts, loosen the side bolts, slide the seat forward, remove the back bolts. So I'm going to dig into that and I'll catch back up with you guys when I have things kind of unbolted. Alright, seat is out, so let's take a look at the other side and I'll show you stock seat users how to pull this thing out of here. Alright, so if you have a stock seat, you're going to be looking for these two bolts right here, and there's another two back behind the seat that I'll show you after we get these front two out that you're going to have to kind of recline the seat forward to get at. So let's get going on these guys first. Alright, now that the front two bolts are out, we're going to slide the seat forward here, recline it up, and then you can get access to the other two bolts back here, back there. Let's get them out. Now that the seats are out, we need to undo the front latches and undo the rear latches. This doesn't apply to you if you don't have a hard top, so let's undo those and pull this hard top off of here. Alright, now it's time to remove the hard top. I would say, generally speaking, it's best to use two people to do this, but if you're a fucking beast like me, you only need one person. Let's do it. Easy fucking peasy. Now that the hard top is off, there's a bunch of little clips, you know, screws, etc. Stuff that you gotta take off of here to get this off. Gotta take off this whole trim panel. I'm gonna remove these guys as well as, you know, some of the weather stripping, but I'm gonna be pulling most of my carpet out because, again, I'm gonna be putting those frame rail supports in too. You don't have to. If you have a convertible top, there's some extra steps that you have to do, but I don't have one of those, and honestly, you should probably just get rid of yours too and get a hard top instead so that you don't have to deal with this either. But let's get into pulling this out. In order to give yourself the best chance of success possible to do this, there's a few tools that you're going to need. Classic 10 mil. To be honest, I don't know what size Torx this is, but you're going to need one of these if you got hard top latches. A various assortment of trim removal tools for, you know, these little guys right here, and like these little guys, you know, right here, and then screwdriver for some various, you know, things that also need to be taken off. Okay, well, you know, I'll show you a few clips of some clips getting clipped off of their clip holes, and then we'll get to it. If I could recommend any tool for this that just makes life easier, it's going to be one of these guys. You really can just kind of wedge this thing under your clip like that, get it under there, and then you just boop, bam. Clip 0, me 1. One last little thing that's always good to have around is some sort of container. I'm using a mason jar. You can use whatever you want, but just keep all your little things in here for all your different parts of the project. So I got one of these for each of the seats, and I'll have more of them as I go so that nothing gets mixed up. There's one more of these little doohickeys for the tonneau cover style things right at the back behind the seat belt, so might as well get that one off too. They bust loose really easily, so, you know, not much effort is required. And don't forget, keep your shit organized. So right here next to the seat belt is the strike plate for the side lashes for the hardtop. Got to pull these bolts out. I can't remember, I don't think that they're there even if you don't have the hardtop, so just pull these suckers out and keep on moving along. Okay, one of the last things that you got to do is pull this little screw out right here, and I'm going to pull this off as well. You might as well. It makes things a little bit easier because I'm pulling this trim off. It makes it the whole carpet kind of come down a little bit easier, so that would be my recommendation, but do whatever you want. Alright, once all your screws and everything are out, you can pop this little teeny tiny clip off back here if it's still on. You know, you'll probably need to take this guy off as well. This comes off like that. You can pop this trim off, work your way down, and then this whole panel comes off. So there we go. This guy right here is going to be the last tricky guy that you're going to have to deal with. You kind of got to get under there and pop it up like that, and then it comes out. It shouldn't require that much effort, but a little pro tip for you. So once everything is out, this is kind of going to be what it looks like. Sorry for the exposure shit going on right here. So that's kind of what it's going to look like. I'm going to go ahead and remove the rest of these clips and stuff throughout. I'm not going to go through all of the locations and everything. There's a shit ton of them, so just get them all. One last thing. You got to make sure to remove the screw as well, so that will allow the rest of the carpet to come up and kind of give you access to everything else back here. So let's finish getting this stuff out of here. Okay, one last little pro tip. There are two different sizes here, it seems to be. One of them is a little bit bigger, one's a little bit smaller. The smaller ones appear to go around the perimeter at the top edge of the carpet, and the bigger ones seem to kind of go into the meat of the car, so keep that in mind. I'm going to keep them separate. You might want to as well, or just mix them up. It might not even matter. Once you have all the screws and the different accoutrements and things around the seatbelt out, you should be able to just pull that top deck carpet free. I already pulled mine off, and fortunately for me, mine looks like this. Super stoked considering this car is a year older than I am and it had a bad rear window for a while. I mean, this looks brand new. I mean, there's zinc coating on all the bolts still intact back here. It's really great to see. So let's keep moving along. So one other bit of carpet I'm going to remove right here is this back panel of carpet. It's just going to make things easier as well. So go ahead and take out those clips on either side, and then you should be able to pull that thing out as well. The next part of the puzzle is going to be removing this top panel right here, and there's all these 10mm bolts that go all around the perimeter. I'm going to start unscrewing them, or I guess unbolting them. Wish my forearms and wrist well. Well, the main camera died, so while it's charging, we're going to try out the GoPro. Hopefully the audio is not too bad, but we'll see, and we'll be back with the other camera shortly. But for now, enjoy the GoPro footage. So now that we have all of the bolts out of here, we should be able to just pick this panel up free. It definitely has some sharpish edges on here, so keep that in mind. Don't be giving yourself no metal paper cuts with this guy. There's some like insulation and stuff on the back side of it, so just be aware of that. Grab onto that if you can. Now that we have that off, you know, definitely are going to have to do some cleaning back there and remove some of this stuff, but it's pretty cool to see, you know, all things considered, it's pretty clean. A couple of other things that we have to do is remove the top of the seat belt bolt and pull this guy out of here, and then there's another bolt down here that we have to pull out, and we got to do the same thing for both sides. So let's get into that right now. Alright, so to get this off, you kind of just got to pry off, and bam, bolt exposed. You're not going to need to reuse this hardware. I don't think that you're going to need to reuse that hardware. Hold on to it just in case, but I believe that the hardtop kit provides all new hardware for everything. So let's get going. So quick heads up for this bolt right here. As I was going through all of my metric socket sizes, I found nothing worked. So what you're going to actually need here is a, let's see if it'll show up, little 5/8 guy right here. So use a 5/8 here, 5/8 down here, and then a 10 mil. Interesting engineering there, but is what it is. So let's get her going. Alright, I think that we are out. So this whole cassette assembly should come out like that. Bam, there you go. So there's one more quick tip that I want to share with you that I saw in the depths of the internet. Check this out. So you're going to need some pliers, like so. We're going to go ahead, and if you look right here on the seatbelt cassette, you see this little tab guy right here? You're going to want to go ahead and fold that flat, basically, you know, kind of grab onto it, tip it down a little bit, just kind of pinch it flat as you can. You know, you might be able to go in there and fine tweak it a little bit more later, but as you can see right there, it's kind of in line. I'll flatten it a little bit more off camera, but you get the idea. That's going to make this mounting this back up a lot easier when it comes to putting the hard top in. So one more thing to do with the seatbelt, you got to take out the bolt at the bottom to remove the whole assembly. You might not need to, but I'm doing it anyways because, again, I'm taking my carpet out to put those frame rail supports in there, which you'll see later on in this video, maybe another video, who knows. Okay, so back up behind this panel that we removed, there's some wiring, and depending on your year, it's going to be maybe more complicated, maybe less complicated. This is a very early car, so there's like no ABS or anything like that back there, but it's going to help to take off some of these clips just to like be able to maneuver things around, so keep that in mind. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Use one of these trim tools or something similar to get off what you need to get off, and catch back up with you in a little bit. Helpful. Now that's pretty much free. Just going to use this. Pop this ground off of here. Something else that we have to get done is to remove this panel back here. So in order to do that, we just got to pop that 10 mil out there. I think that there's, yep, another one hiding back there, and then that should come out and we'll have a little bit better access to all this stuff back here. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get right into that. Something else is probably a good idea if you haven't done it already, you know, just for safety's sake. Just go ahead and undo your battery. And, well, the panel comes out, and that's kind of where your gas, plumbing, and whatnot exists, so cool. Alright, your car may or may not have this. I don't know. I'm not a Mazda mechanic, but I am taking it out because it's A, disgusting, B, in the way. Pretty sure that you have to pull this stuff out hopefully you're fortunate like me and that comes out pretty easily. So just toss that shit, you know, maybe clean this area up and get back to it. Well, I've said it before and I might say it again, but I think that the last thing that we have to do for disassembly purposes is to remove the wheels and take the fender liner out. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started with that on this side. Now that the wheel is off of here, hey, you can see my coilovers. They're kind of fucking dirty and shit, so don't judge me too much. And yeah, I know I need to go a little bit lower, so I will. But anyways, we gotta take this fender liner out, so it's gonna be some more 10 mil bolts right here, and should come out pretty easy, so we're gonna get going on that. Well, not so bad if you ask me. It looked like a ton of shit was going to come out of here, but anyways, you're going to kind of need to access this area back here, so that's why we did that. I'm going to do the next side and catch back up with you shortly. Now that everything's opened up, it's a good idea to just get in here and clean everything out. Give yourself a nice fresh place to work from. So I'm just going to wipe everything down, use a little Clorox wipe, and then kind of dry it up with a paper towel, and good to go. Looks brand new. Now that we've got everything pulled off of the car, we're ready to throw the roll bar in, but there's still one more thing that we have to do, and that involves cutting this little bit right here. So according to the Bethania fabrication instructions, we're gonna go 3 inches from the center point back, basically along this line right here, and then we're gonna go 2 1/4 over and basically round that out. So we'll see how close it is. I'm gonna hope that their instructions are on par, and we'll start there, try to fit it up, and cut some more if we have to. So we'll see what happens. Alright, you can see that we've got our cuts marked. I'm gonna go at it with a Dremel. Seems to work pretty good. Fingers crossed. Here we go. Alright, so we're back with the old camera. Let's see, which one do you guys like better? I don't know, the GoPro or this guy. So I made my holes per the recommendations like we talked about earlier, but it is not big enough. So I'm going to open these holes up a little bit bigger. You can see that there's still kind of quite a, you know, thumb-sized gap between there. So this needs to be able to push all the way against there, and we just don't have that clearance right now. Something else that we're gonna have to make clearance for, because this has the harness tab put in. I mean, I'm probably gonna do a bolt-in harness bar at some point, but the harness tabs are in there nonetheless, so we need to make a little bit of extra clearance for that as well. So my plan is to just trim a little bit beyond, basically try to stop just short of that weld right there, and do the same thing on the other side, and we'll be in business. Alright, well, after a ton of work and some trimming and some more trimming and then just a little bit more trimming, it's in. So we're definitely gonna have to still trim the top plate that covers over everything, but for now it fits pretty good, so check this shit out. Okay, as you can see, I had to do quite a bit of trimming over here to get around this mount. Had to do something similar on the other side. I'll show you here. So just be aware that when you install this, you know, you'll definitely want to make some extra clearance. You can see here, maybe I cut it a little bit too far, but I'd rather have more clearance than not enough so that things aren't getting all scratched up, and it's going to be all covered with carpet anyways. So who cares? But right now, guys, I am stoked. This thing is looking super sick. Just ready to get the whole thing wrapped up so we can take it back out on the street. So I'm gonna grab some dinner and probably get back at this thing a little bit more. Next stop is drilling some holes and starting to mount this thing. We'll drill holes and then got to seal those holes, because anytime you're putting fresh holes into metal, you definitely want to cover that up to prevent future rusting and everything like that. So we'll do the proper precautions, but we're getting close, we're getting close, we're getting close. All right, it's the next day and it's time to hopefully wrap this thing up. So got a couple of things that we need to do today. First of which is to sort of bolt up this roll bar right here so that we can get our holes drilled. So to do that, first things first, you need to get the seat belt back in its spot and utilize the bottom bolt hole down here to bolt through the bar into the seatbelt harness. And this is where you're bending that tab back comes in handy, because now this thing has some movement side to side, which is going to help out with the seatbelt location. So I have make sure you put those things in first, and then I have dropped in the spacer for this bolt right here, drop the bolt through. I am going to now snug up the bolt at the front to try to push the roll bar back, and then I'm going to start working on holes for mounting elsewhere. Alright, let's get to it. One quick tip, back here behind the rear mounting plates, make sure there's a little rubber grommet. Make sure you remove it, otherwise the rear plates won't sit flat and you won't be able to get a secure connection. So just make sure you remove that from both sides. So the next step here is going to be mounting the back mounts to the chassis of the car, and then that will kind of help inform the rest of the holes that we have to make. So in order to do that, I am actually grabbed a 1/8 inch drill bit that's 12 inches long, and I have enough room right back here to squeeze this drill bit straight vertical down into the mounting hole. Once we punch that mounting hole through, we'll come back from the bottom side and open it up with a 3/8 inch bit, and then we'll be able to put the mounting flange on the back and bolt this thing up, and then we'll be able to do the front holes. So catch up with you when I get done. Alright, once you have your pilot hole drilled down here, I made 2 just because I wanted to shift it over a little bit. You're going to take a 3/8 inch drill bit and punch that hole up through the bottom, and then we'll be able to put a mending plate down below, bolt it in place, and use that mending plate to drive our other hole locations. Let's do this. Alright, now that we have our hole drilled in there, we are going to drop one of the supplied nuts and bolts with a washer on it through that top hole that we just made. Alright, so we've got that in there. Then you can take one of these plates and keep in mind the orientation of the hole, so we'll make sure that the plate goes down there like this. Singular hole facing towards the outside of the car. Alright, next we're going to grab one of these lock nuts and throw it up under there on top of that plate. So, you know, it's going to look a little something like this. Now that we have this plate installed, you can see there's a couple of other hole locations that we can go through. So I'm going to punch one straight up through that front rightmost hole, and then another one I'm just going to go for towards the inside of the back hole, just kind of based on where that front bolt is. So I'm going to do that and then cinch those up and move on to the other side and catch up with you then. Okay, so getting into the third hole back here is proving to be a little bit difficult with the drill setup that I got, so I went and got a 12-inch 3/8 drill bit as well. I probably could go from the bottom, but I think that what I'm going to actually do instead is pop another hole right back here and then just drill the hole straight down to give myself the best chance possible for success. So I'm going to do that right now and let you know how it goes. Alright, we got everything bolted in. As you can see, 3 bolts down there. I would definitely recommend popping this hole in. I just used the bottom plates to kind of space it out because I could see the top hole through. That just made punching that perpendicular hole really easily, so I would recommend doing that for sure. Last thing that we got to do is pop these holes out and then we'll be good to go. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm actually going to take everything apart. Once I get all the bolt holes and everything in their place where they need to be, since I live in the Midwest, I'm going to take the extra step of, you know, using some undercoating on all the new holes that I drilled, etc., etc. So I'm going to drill these holes out, then I'm going to take the roll bar back out of the car, and then I'm going to work on phase 2 of this project, which is installing those frame rail supports, which is going to be even more holes and even more undercoating. So I'm gonna get going on that, clean up a little bit, and I'll catch up with you guys when I have the roll bar back out of the car. So I've got the bar out, I got everything cleaned up, I've got my new undercoating around all the areas that I cut up, including the new holes there, etc., etc. So I'm gonna throw the bar back in first. I know I said that I was gonna work on the frame rail supports, but I think I'm gonna throw the bar in first and go from there, because then less stuff on the ground, less stuff in the way, so let's get it. Alright, roll bar is fully back in, bolted in place, and this thing is solid. So we're going to put the under trays back up under the wheel wells, and then work on trimming the top plate to fit around the new roll bar. Alright, well, it's hard to believe it, but the hard installation part of the process is done, and all we need to do is tie down the top plate and put the carpet in, which I know is going to be a little bit of a challenge. Then you have to do some trimming on the plastic panels that go around the seat belts, etc., etc., but mounting is done. Now it's just trimming and fitting stuff. So check this out. I'll show you what I had to do to the top plate and what you're probably going to have to do as well. As you can see right here, I had to just trim a little bit. There was kind of a little hump that I just trimmed straight across, and then on the driver's side, it was just a little bit more involved. I kind of just did as you can see, I just kind of did a little right angle there to get around the tube. You know, it's all going to be covered up with carpet and stuff anyways, so who cares? I'm just going to zip in all of these little bolts and we'll be off to the races. Alright, for real, to get those things in, what we gotta do is first get out your carpet. Well, your floor mat, whatever you want. We gotta do both. You know, if you're cool, you got a garage moon power mat in your car, so make sure you hit them up to your car mat needs. And then we gotta take this carpet up. So to do that, you pretty much have to kind of take out that interior trim like we talked about. Unclip these guys. And then on the driver's side there's a dead pedal, but on the passenger side there's not, so we can just kind of pull this trim up a little bit here to sort of get this interior panel pulled back enough that we can kind of get the carpet out from there. And then we're just going to lift it up basically and pin it back. I think I'm going to grab a bungee cord to tie these two things together, and then we'll have access to all this stuff for screwing in, bolting in, whatever you want to call it. It's technically bolting, but then we're going to bolt in that frame rail support. And I got to do some vacuuming in here. Sheesh. On another positive note, doing some inspection on this frame rail, it is so good, considering it's a 30-year-old car that's actually it's 32 now. they're in pretty great condition. So I'm gonna mount it up, I'm gonna clean them up, and I think I'm gonna hit it with a fresh coat of underspray just to be precautious, but yeah, this should go pretty smooth, I think. Alright, something that's gonna make the carpet coming out much easier is going to be taking out this plastic panel over here to the left of the gas pedals and clutch. There's a little one of those clips, pop-up rivets, where you have to pop the hole out right up here in the corner, and you gotta pop that out, and then you kind of gotta pry the thing away from the side of the car and slide it forward, and then it'll come right out. So I'm gonna pop that out right now. Alright, so as you can see, the frame rails are in pretty good condition here. There's just a couple of spots where I definitely bottomed out the car on a speed bump or something like that, I don't know. But I'm going to squeeze these together using a little clamp, C-clamp, something like this, that you can just kind of form this thin sheet metal into shape. And then we'll take the frame rail, pop it over that, drill some holes, and start getting going. Alright, so I got the frame rail cleaned up. Next step is to drill holes, but in order to do that, you got to kind of hold the thing in place. So what I did is threw it up on a jack, got it in the right spot, by the way, which is getting that corner as far forward as possible. The notch side goes towards the inside. So now that it's up in place, I'm gonna go grab a drill bit. I believe it's a 5/16 drill bit, which would be for a quarter 20 bolt. I think it's a metric size, but whatever, 5/16 I think is the right size. So I'm gonna start drilling some holes. Let's get it. Right, as you can see, we've got our holes poking up. So I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, which is a little bit more complicated. I'll show you why, but just, you know, make sure that you have your carpet pulled up enough to avoid the holes. You know, I think I just managed to nick the insulation and not the carpet itself, but just be aware of that, you know, this stuff. Yeah, huh, I wonder why it's all wound up like that. Weird. Anyways, I'm gonna get back to it. Clean these holes up. You know, make sure when you do this, especially if you're living in an area that's prone to having bad winters or any sort of inclement weather, good idea to you know, put some undercoating on these things after you get it all cleaned up. Alright, I'm gonna go over to the other side and show you why it's a little bit more complicated than this side. Well, I don't know if you can tell, but we are under the passenger side of the car. And what we are looking at right here is the frame rail. And what we're looking at right here is some gas and brake lines, I believe. So what we have to do is actually remove this first, and then the bracket's gonna go over, the support's gonna go over the frame rail, but slide underneath of this. So we need to be able to basically lift these down to get, sorry about that, this underneath these lines. So I'm gonna use a 10mm socket to remove these bolts. There's a few of these along the frame rail, so pop those all out, and then we'll get back with you after we've got the frame rail support up here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and drill the holes. You know, just don't be dumb, move the lines out of the way when you're drilling your holes. Sorry about that again. But yeah, just be careful and don't die. Now that we have all of our holes drilled and cleaned up, deburred, if you will, we're gonna take some acetone and just take a quick swipe across the top, swipe across the bottom, clean the area up a little bit, and spray a little bit of undercoating after we mask it off. So let's get to it. Just gonna swipe, 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 swipe. I'm also going to spray a little bit more undercoating on some other holes that I made earlier, just since we're here, might as well, you know. As you can see, I've got some undercoating over all the holes. It's nothing too crazy, but it's going to get covered up by carpet, so who cares. What I'm going to do right now is put the frame rail support up from underneath, hold it up with a jack, and then I'm going to drop bolts down through the top. It's important to drop them through the top, so that way if they ever come loose on the bottom, you know, at least the bolt is still in place and the bolt's not falling out. So we're going to get started on that and throw it in, check it out. we've done it. The frame rail supports are bolted in, and we are ready to start putting the carpet back in. So I'm gonna get to that. I'm basically just going to be laying the carpet back down in here, making sure that it's tight up against the wall, putting that trim panel back in. Keep in mind there's a couple of pins on there that you can kind of see where I'm pointing at. Don't know if it'll focus, but those need to go into the right holes, and then you can put that push pin style rivet back in, and then we'll continue laying the carpet down. There's another trim piece right here. I just got some new ones from Harbor Freight, so pro tip, I'm going to pull that out there, but if you need new ones, go to Harbor Freight, get yourself some new ones. Then it's a matter of kind of continuing just to put more and more carpet back on. So I'm going to start with this and then catch up when we need to get back to this, because there's going to be some trimming involved. So I'm going to get to it. Right, now that the carpet down here is in, we're going to put the carpet that rests up against this kind of back firewall here first. Make sure you slide it behind the center console and clip it in where you need. Then we'll move up to the deck lid carpet that's going to need some trimming. Now that we got the back firewall, I guess you could call it, fabric in, we're going to do the deck portion. So this is going to require a little bit of trimming, but we can at least kind of drop it in for now. So you can kind of see here how the roll bar is kind of in the way a little bit. So what I'm going to do is take my knife and kind of slice down around so that the fabric can drop flat. I'll probably kind of go in line right there, and yeah, check it out. So as you can see, we need to trim this carpet down. What I'm going to do is kind of follow back here to the back corner of the roll bar, because I want this thing to kind of disappear as best as we possibly can. So I'm kind of going to end up cutting around this. Check it out. Just like that, we've got ourselves a really nice, clean, almost semi-factory appearing roll bar install. Now it's time to do the other side. I'm going to do that and catch up with you guys when I'm done. In order to make the side trim panels fit in place, we have to do some cutting. So according to the instructions, we basically have to cut along this inside edge of this corner fillet. We are going to be cutting down this inside most edge and basically cutting a straight line all the way through, and that'll allow us to kind of work around the roll bar, which kind of intrudes and mounts right here. So I'm gonna get to that. And voila, we have our two pieces. Okay, as you can see, we've got our panel that has been trimmed, but we're gonna have to do a little bit of extra trimming. Because when you hold it up here, I mean, this is sort of where it's supposed to end up, but clearly things are rubbing. So what we're gonna have to do is kind of cut along here, remove this section so that the plastic can fit underneath of this bar. Then up top, we're gonna have to kind of trim around right here so that it can fit around the bar. So I'm gonna do that and then show you guys what it looks like when it's all fitted up right. Well, I got everything trimmed and it looks sick. I couldn't help myself. I started putting stuff back together. So don't forget about the push pin, the little clip guy there. There's another little clip guy there for this. You got to put your trim back in over the plastic trim. Had to do a little bit of trimming here to kind of match that inside line. Also a little bit of trimming here for the seatbelt to have easy access. I'm going to go ahead and snug everything up and then do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll work on getting the seats in and then mount the hardtop, and I think we'll be able to call this project a fucking wrap. One of the last things that we have to do before we put the seats in is put these nice little caps right here over the bolt for the seatbelt. So you just kind of click that in like that. Click that in like that, and bam, you know, clean, fresh install. I'm really impressed with how well this kit went on, and you know, I was even able to put the factory clip in right here to seal that up. You know, it just looks great. So now is the fun part, and time to see if the aftermarket seat fits back in here. I'm sure the stock seat will fit in fine, so I'm gonna go ahead and throw that in. I don't think I'm gonna really film this part too much. Like I said, I think I'm just gonna throw the factory seat back in, and maybe film a little bit of putting the driver's seat back in. We'll see, but I'm just gonna try to blaze through this because it's laid out and I want to get this thing done, but it's looking so sick. So let's get to it. Okay, as you can see, we've got the seats, both of them in, but what else you can see is that the foam padding on the roll bar here is going to make a little bit of contact with this seat. So what I'm going to do is pull the padding back a little bit and just kind of carve a little chunk out with a little box cutter just so that I can get the seat back as far as possible. Then before we slide the seat back, we're going to put the hard top on so I can get access to this latch, and then I think we'll be calling this thing a wrap. Check this out. As you can see, I did some pretty major trimming here. Kind of used a rasp and honestly just a bread knife to kind of cut around the seat just to make sure that it can go as far back as possible. I'm going to wrap it back up, slide the seat back into place. Actually, I'm going to put the hard top on before I slide the seat back, so let's get to that. Oh my god. So fucking sick, guys. I cannot believe that. Hell yes. Hardtop is on. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. I can't believe this shit. I can't believe I waited so long to do this. It looks so sick. So much safer. I can't wait to see what the car feels like. Probably gonna be way stiffer, but I'm here for it. I'm so excited. Alright, we made it. The last step of this whole project is just gonna be tightening up these bolts right here. I gotta do it on both sides. It's a little bit tricky on the inside of the seat because there's not a lot of room there, but right here I'm gonna tighten these up, tighten the back ones up, and then we're gonna be good to go. I think also while the car's up, I might adjust my handbrake there and make sure we're ready to skid, so I'm gonna get to it. The time has come. We're all cleaned up. All we have to do is put the wheels back on and lower her down, and then we'll be able to take it on our maiden voyage. Got to throw the floor mats in as well, but that's a last minute thing. So I'll throw these wheels on, torque them down, and let's get going. Now that we got those frame rail supports, I'm going to utilize those and jack up from a super easy to use jack point that I now have along the whole length of my car basically. So I'm going to get to it. Let's do it. Now that we're on the ground, last thing for me to do is to reconnect the battery terminals and fingers crossed this thing starts up. So let's do it. Moment of truth. Will it start like she usually does? Every time, baby. Let's go. Got the GoPro mounted up here, so we're gonna switch over to that footage for a little bit, and I'll kind of let you guys know how it feels. All right, first time ever doing this. Got to avoid a car as I'm backing out here, but let's see if we notice a difference here at all. Unfortunately, I don't have too many twisty roads around here, but there's a county park up the road that I'm going to check out. That should be a decent little place to check this thing out, as long as it's not too crowded. So, you know, safety first always. But catch up with you guys in a second once I get there. Alright, so I lied. It's about 10 seconds later, but I figured I would pop it on for this. I mean, I don't know if it's just subliminal or because I've been working on it or what, but I think that the car just, I don't know, it feels so much more solid. I don't know if that's subliminal, but it feels just way more rigid. I don't know. It can't just be subliminal, but we'll find out as we keep going. So I guess I'll keep the camera on. I mean, it feels solid as hell. I'm gonna just pull into this parking lot really quick. Up, did a little clutch kick, you know, things were feeling pretty good. Overall, I would say this feels awesome. You know, it's going to be hard to say how big of a difference it makes for sure until we're actually at the track ripping and can kind of feel the car in turns. But for me, I think definitely a worthwhile upgrade and something that every Miata owner should consider doing. You know, it's peace of mind if nothing else, but the yeah, everything just felt great. The frame rails feel good, you know. I don't know, the car just feels a lot stiffer overall, especially with the hard top on here. So